If you're going to start a law firm, understand this. Marketing for a criminal defense law firm is what I call one-off marketing, and it's also a showroom effect. If you want to know how to get clients on day one, tune in. I'll show you how.
You are listening to the Prosperous Law Podcast. Learn how to reduce stress, have more time, and make more money. Come on in.
I'm Greg McCollum, and I built a seven-figure criminal defense law firm. I formed Prosperous Law to show criminal defense law firm owners who are desperate for success how to grow from under $200,000 to $1 million and beyond. If you're starting a law firm, or you're in a law firm and you're leaving it and going to start another law firm, then what do you need? You need clients. You need clients now. And how are you going to get clients? The way that we get clients in my law firm, Complete Legal Defense Team, is two ways, more than two ways, but say basically two ways, through marketing and networking, okay? Networking, referrals, that sort of thing. And it generally is considered that the networking is the cheapest or least expensive way to get clients, because if you don't have any clients, excuse me, if you don't have any clients and you don't have anything to do, then the idea is that, well, you can go to an event, or you can take somebody out to lunch, and you can do those things. Now, I have some thoughts about that, and I'll circle back to that in a minute. And I'm not saying that networking doesn't work, but there are some things that work better. Now, in terms of marketing, there are a couple of different ways that you can market. And in terms of marketing, there's this thing I call transactional marketing. I'm not sure if that's even a name, but that's what I call it, because that's what it is, transactional marketing, where somebody's looking for a criminal defense lawyer in your town. Somebody's looking for a criminal defense lawyer in my market. They're looking for a criminal defense lawyer in Myrtle Beach, or they're looking for a criminal defense lawyer in Charleston, because those are our markets. So lawyers pop up. Lawyers pay for ads. Lawyers have their offices in a Google map pin. They pay for LSAs. And now even, and this is happening too, is they pop up in AI searches, artificial intelligence searches. So you got to be aware of the AI part of this, because there's this theory or this concept that Google is racing ahead with artificial intelligence, because some people have predicted that with artificial intelligence searches, that whole Google platform will be obsolete. Now, I don't know if that happens. Who knows? But we do know that technology companies can their lifespan is so accelerated as compared to historically what it took for a company to go out of business, because whatever they did was irrelevant. So my favorite part of marketing is branding. At the Complete Legal Defense Team, we defend the accused who have a lot to lose. Most of our clients have never been arrested before. So we want our ideal clients to know that message. How do we get them to know the message? How do we tell them? Well, we want to contact as many people as possible in our market. And in our market, it's not just our market, because we have 16 to 20 million visitors each year to the Myrtle Beach area. In Charleston, they don't have as many, but they also have visitors there. Now, the Charleston visitors don't get arrested like the Myrtle Beach visitors do, but that's a different thing. So in Myrtle Beach, say maybe 40% of our clients, and these could be the most serious felonies ever, or they could just be simple cases like DUIs or even below that. But a significant portion of our business is people from out of town. Myrtle Beach is a drive destination, but people come from all over the Northeast. People come from other states, mostly east, of the Mississippi, though we do have tourists also from other places like Colorado and California and Wyoming and things like that. But the point is that if I'm running branding marketing in Myrtle Beach, and the tourist who gets arrested, who ends up being my client, he or she is there for 1 week or even a long weekend, then they're not sitting on the couch watching my TV commercials every day for 3 years before they called. So it's not practical for me to run television ads, in North Carolina, Charlotte, and Raleigh, and in Virginia, and in, the Washington, D.C. area, and in the towns in West Virginia, and in Pennsylvania, and New Jersey, and the state of New York. That's not feasible. So what's happening is a lot of my branding marketing is going to the locals, which is probably 60% of my business. So that's an issue that you may or may not have depending on where your law firm is located. So if I only did branding advertising, the problem would be that I would not get enough new clients to pay the bills. So how do you get people to call you so you can pay some bills? And that is the transactional marketing. Now, the long game for that is not the same as branding, but the long game for that can be that you hire somebody to optimize your website so that when people are doing these generalized searches, you pop up, you're in the 3-pack, the Google 3-pack, and so they find you, and you're not paying thousands of dollars a month or more, $5,000 a month or more for Google ads. So that's more economical. However, it's a longer game. It's going to take you, and it depends on where you're located and how much competition there is. And you can look at that. If you do the search for, say, criminal defense lawyer, St. Louis, criminal defense lawyer, Houston, or wherever, or you could do criminal, because I did this recently, I think, criminal defense lawyer, Cleveland. You can see it because if you look at that, the results on that, not the organic, but the places, the maps, if you look at that and you see, 3 or 4 law firms that, they got 20 reviews, they got 16 reviews, and then you go on their website and their website is not optimized for mobile and their website's not that good, then that area is ripe for you to rank with search engine optimization. However, even though it's perfect for you, it's wide open, it's something that you can take over and go to number 1 in the maps and get there and stay there. It's still going to take some time. It's going to take you a year and a half maybe before you're number 1 or number 2. And that's where you have to live in that. You got to be number 1, 2, 3, sometimes maybe 4. Sometimes our site down in Charleston's 4, and we still get some calls. So you got to get up there. You can't get up there on day 1. So what do? 2 things. You also, though, before you do this, because local service ads, they call it Google LSA, it's not that hard to set up. You're basically just being verified. You're being verified by Google. And so they put you up there as having been verified. So what does it take to get verified? You have to prove your office exists, and I'll explain how you have to do that. You have to prove to them that you got a law license, which is not that hard to do, right? You have to prove to them that you're the entity that you say you are. So I think you got a Secretary of State filing, like in my case, we're an LLC, so we have to present that filing to Google. We have to show them that we have insurance. And I cannot remember if we had to show them that we had professional malpractice insurance or general liability. I can't remember. We might have had to show both. and then you got to verify it. And I'll explain how you verify it beyond that. But once you do these things, then you have to wait, because they don't put you up there instantly. And even everything evolves. But when I had done this earlier in life, and I wouldn't show up until I got 5 reviews. That seems to have changed, because the last time I got verified, we came up, I think, with 1 review. So you got to be aware of that. But this could take you. When we closed an office in Charleston, and because we lost our Google placement, and that's a whole story, but we lost it. So the building we were in, it was inappropriate for Google. The building was fine, but for Google, it was inappropriate. So we moved across town, and I think that I started working on, and I had help, because I had somebody that does my search engine optimization, SEO, and I had help, and he walked me through it. But even then, it took me, from releasing that office in November, I don't think we were active or back active on Google until, I think it was February, something like that. And I had to do it more than once. And in that situation, what I had to do, and this was just an office, that 1-story office. So I had to go down there with my phone and then log in with Google's QR code with my guy walking me through it. And I had to shoot a video on my phone, and I had to show the street we were on. So I go over there to show the street sign, and I can't really see it, so I'm trying to scroll and pinch my phones and edit it, not edit it, but change the shot like that. And then now I've got to, turn and walk back to the office with the thing running consistently, with me walking across the parking lot, making sure I don't walk into a car, go up to the front door, show our nice little sign on the outside of the building, open the door, walk in, and film around there, showing that this place exists. And I have to do it on my account. And then there's some more QR code, and upload this and do that. And then you send it in, and then their only response is like, okay, got it. So I'm on the phone with my guy, my SEO guy. I go, what happens now? He's like, we got to wait until they come back and say it's verified. So the point of this is, if you're starting a law firm and you want to have that Google PIN, you want to have that LSA set up, start working on it now. There's certain requirements. You can figure this out and start working on it now, so that on day 1, you'll be able to run those ads, get those calls, and it will work. You can set your budget for pay-per-click. You can set your budget for the LSAs. The LSAs are a lot simpler than the pay-per-click. Pay-per-click, you can waste a lot of money in pay-per-click. So if there's any way possible, you should get help doing it. But that's another pitfall, because next thing you know, you sign up with a marketing company, and they don't give you your proprietary intellectual property. So they create stuff, and then they own it. You don't own it. That's I don't know what that's called, but I know some lawyer marketing companies do that, and you don't want to do that. You want to make sure you own it. The other thing is, a lot of marketing companies, they want they want all your money, and they're going to do everything for you. And if you have a good website, they're going to want to rebuild it, and those sort of things. So if you can find somebody who can do the SEO, who's not a major company, who's somebody that you can talk to, and they've got a little bit of a track record, it doesn't matter. They could be doing SEO for, ice cream shops or something like that. You're probably better off with them. What are you going to pay? I think the going rate's about $750 a month, but usually they'll cut that down to get you as a new client, because there's other things they're going to sell you. So that the cost or the value of you is ongoing. So usually they'll usually give you a discount. And I would recommend that versus going to online and hiring the big law firm marketing companies. These guys can do it. They can help you. They can walk it through it. They're less treacherous. They're less treacherous. Sound like Elmer Fudd, treacherous. They're less treacherous. So they're less treacherous, okay? Now, also, when you do this, when somebody clicks on you, where are they going? What are they going to see? And probably as important as your marketing presence is, where do they land? Do they land on a landing page? Do they land on a website? If you don't have anything and you don't have any money, you should be able to get somebody to set up a landing page for you that's just very basic, but it's professional. It looks good. It's got some good photographs. It's got a little bit of information on it. For maybe as cheap as $1,000 for a landing page, maybe a little bit more depending on your market. I think that for this company we just needed a presence, and we created a landing page for $1,000. Now, since then, we spent a lot more money on it, and we've changed it a lot, but that was a starting point. We had a .com. My experience with somebody building a traditional website has usually been $4,000 to $6,000. So those are big expenses. Anytime somebody says, okay, I'm going to do this, we're ready to get started, it's $6,000. Usually because of cash flow and things like that, I say, okay, yeah, $6,000 sounds great. Can we pay you $1,500 a month? And in many instances, the answer is yes. We'll pay you on a credit card, $1,500 a month, and so then that gets you going. Now, in terms of building the website, I think we started our website redo like July, August, and it was going to be 6 weeks to finish it. It wasn't 6 weeks; it was 4 or 5 months. So some of that depends on how responsive you are. So plan for that. If you're going to go start your law firm in 6 months, start on that now, so that you're not working for 6 months and people are going online because you're spending money on marketing, and they're not calling you because you don't have a website, because you just don't have that presence. Okay. Also, when you get the website built, it has to be optimized for mobile phones. That's not an option. And if somebody's going to build a website for you and they don't say that right out of the gate, get somebody else, because 60% of searches or more are on phones. So it has to be optimized for mobile. You could even say that, the mobile's clearly more important than even the desktop, but it needs to be both. It needs to be desktop and also mobile friendly, or the word is optimized for mobile. It's got to be there. So what else? This is what it takes if you're going to be successful. How big is your budget? I think that when I started my law firm at the end of 1993, I borrowed $1,000 from my dad. And then a couple of expenses came up, and he loaned me another $1,000. And then I started making money because money was coming in. People were calling me because I'd done some more, grassroots kind of guerrilla marketing. And so I remember I started in November of 93. And I think by March of 94, I paid him back the $2,000. He tried not to take it. He said, you probably need to hold on to this. You may need it. It's probably good advice, because probably what I should have done is spent that $2,000 on some marketing. But I had some people calling, I had some people paying, and that was fine. So today there are two things that jump out at me. One is that it was easier to start a law firm in the 90s in terms of, because websites were not a thing. Online marketing was not a thing. wasn't really necessary. Google hadn't invented pay-per-click yet, I don't think. Maybe they had, but it wasn't a big thing. Even if they had in those days, people seemed to be very aware of what was an ad and what was not an ad. And so people trusted more organic searches. So it's an advantage and a disadvantage. For me, I think made it easier, but I was known in the community. I had worked in the Myrtle Beach area for a long time. I had clerked for a judge briefly. I had worked in the public defender's office less than a year. I had worked in the DA's office for 5 years. I had started a centralized DUI and domestic violence court for my boss, and I was the prosecutor in that, even while I was defending people. So people knew me, cops knew me, lawyers knew me. For 5 years in the DA's office, I'm dealing with lawyers in criminal cases, and I wasn't a jerk, okay? If they needed a continuance or they needed some consideration, I was able to give it to them. If they needed a bench warrant lifted on just a routine case, I didn't fight them on that. I'd say, send me an order, I'll sign it. I'd got people out of jail. I wasn't abusive. I didn't abuse them. I didn't make their life a living hell. I didn't say snarky things to them. And so when I went into private practice, they remembered that. They appreciated that. And, in cases where they had a justification, for a charge reduction, or they had a justification and maybe a sentence reduction, or even just if they were just going to argue it to the judge at a plea, and I had an idea of what I thought they should get, maybe I'd just say, Judge, you're the judge. I'm just telling you the straight facts. So whatever the sentence is, the sentence is. I don't have a recommendation. And then they were skillful enough, that they could convince the judge for valid reasons for a reduction in the sentence. And so, and I'm not over there, throwing my pen and yelling and telling the judge, we recommend this and that sort of thing. So then when I go in to open my office, what happens? That goodwill all came back to me. So if you haven't been in that situation because you haven't had the ability or privilege to work in the DA's office for 5 years before you start, and you're in town and you're just an unknown, and for instance, if you worked in the public defender's office, it's good work, but it's not the same as if you had been in the DA's office, because in the DA's office you have contact with witnesses, victims, and law enforcement. When you're in the public defender's office, you're defending people who are indigent, and the cops, if you do a good job, they're going to know you, but they're not going to have this same kind of affinity. So that's a huge advantage. So what do? It doesn't mean that you have to have that. You just have to be able to do the marketing. The successful marketing in the beginning is the transactional one-off marketing. If you want to know more, if you're in this situation and you want to have someone to show you and guide you how to do this because you're feeling overwhelmed or lost, there's an option. You can contact me, go to prosperatlaw.com, schedule a call. It's a free call just to see if we can help you and if you're interested. So if you're in that situation, go to prosperatlaw.com and schedule a call. That's all for now. Thanks for listening.
If you want to know more, go to prosperatlaw.com. We show criminal defense law firm owners how to reduce stress, have more free time, and make more money. Thanks for listening.